Welcome back, everybody, to Fields of Fire, turn 4. Again, we'll do a quick recap here and mention a few mistakes and controversies. So last turn, I think it was the last turn, we moved this light machine gun forward onto this squad in an attempt to bring some fire down on this heavy machine gun team up here. And we were indeed successful. That combined with a successful artillery fire mission, we reduced them to a litter team. Now, I should note, when I moved this light machine gun team forward, I automatically selected this card as the target of their fire, when in fact there were two cards that could have been fired upon, this one and that one. And given the fact that this is closer, I think that this would have been the target that was selected. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I think at this point I would benefit by moving it, so I don't really want to do that. Additionally, we moved this squad forward, and they laid fire on this guy, and this guy was fortunate in that I had all kinds of fire on that squad, and he pulled back, and I wasted a grenade, among other things, in the process of doing that. So that was indeed unfortunate. Now, in this card, we risked the bane of the minefields and advanced 2 units in addition to a platoon headquarter on there. And as you can see from the results here, there was lots of no bueno results here. So we have one 2-step squad that was reduced completely to paralyzed teams, and the bazooka team as well as the platoon commander were reduced to, or not reduced, but became pinned. And finally, over on this card, we advanced the remainder of 3rd Platoon forward, and we advanced the assault team that had been on this card over here to explore a potential contact. And as you can see, they are now a casualty, which unfortunately came from a 88mm cannon in the face. So those were the recap. And additionally, we're talking about this mistake we made over here. But what I wanted to mention on this church card is I kind of felt weird about moving onto a church card and then into cover. And, if you activate the mines, you benefit from the cover. And it seems that the rules don't explicitly handle this. They don't say that you shouldn't get the cover. But some people do seem to play with at least a house rule of sorts that, if you trigger a minefield, you didn't make it into the building, so you don't get the cover of the building. You would, I imagine, get the +3 from the card, but not the +3 from the building. You would essentially not get in there. And maybe it's a question of timing of when you do that mine draw, whether it is before you get into the cover, because you're allowed to move directly into the cover. I don't know. Anyway, that's a recap. We're on to turn 4, and let's go ahead and do that. And take a look at our command display to see where we are. So XO has 1 command, the company headquarters and the 2nd platoon have 2 commands, and 1st platoon has 3 commands. The 1st sergeant has 0 commands, as well as 3rd platoon has 0 commands. Let's go ahead and do our headquarter action draw. No headquarters, so now we do our company commander draw. There we go. 2 - 1 for green gives us 1 command, and that's why we save them. Why we always like to have saved commands is for a situation like this, where obviously we need to be activating our squads, our platoons, to get anything accomplished here. Now, one issue we have is we have all these guys on this card from 2nd platoon, while the 2nd platoon commander is on this card. So I've got the 1st sergeant essentially acting as their platoon commander for now. So I want to activate First Sergeant for certain to make sure he gets some commands. So we're going to go ahead and flip that over. And that's going to take one command from the company headquarters unit. Secondly, we've got 3rd platoon over here, really not doing anything other than nervously looking at the puff of red smoke that came from this card when their buddies got vaporized. So how do we get up here and take care of this 88 cannon without just getting obliterated in the process? Well, one way would be to get up there and deploy smoke. And then try to bring fire from another direction. So that's a possibility. So I think we're going to go ahead and activate 3rd platoon for sure. So I'll flip that over. So that's 2 commands from the company commander. And for the 3rd, right now would be a good time to move the remainder of 1st platoon forward. So I think we're going to do that. We're going to act. 1st platoon has some commands that they can do that with, so we're not going to activate 1st platoon. So I think we'll activate 2nd platoon. All right, so there's our 3 actions, and the company commander no longer has any saved commands. So let's go ahead and see what we can get for these guys one at a time here. We'll go with the 1st sergeant first. 1st sergeant bangs it out. Now, he is not green. He's a veteran. So I think he actually gets an extra command. Let me take a look and see. Yep, the 1st sergeant, being a veteran, gets an extra command. So that's a 6 commands for them. And they could potentially save those as they are veterans. That's the max size they can save, but we definitely want to use some of those. Next, we're going to draw for 3rd platoon. 3rd platoon gets 3 commands because they are green. And 2nd platoon gets 1 command. So you can never go below 1. They are green, so technically there's a -1 modifier. But it's not going to play out. And we got rid of this nasty burst card as well. So I'm going to think about this for a moment. I'm going to find out how to get my record button to stop moving behind the screen. Okay, we got a lot of things going on here that we need to think about. Again, we've kind of eliminated all the enemies that we can see. Or at least we don't have to shoot at them anymore. So we need to get everybody to cease fire, particularly those who have ammunition shortages, like the machine guns. So getting commanders in a position where they can issue those orders is one priority. Another is going to be doing something about these accumulating casualties. We're going to need to set up a casualty collection point and get some carriers or something like that to start bringing those people there. And again, we can start getting some people forward because no one is presently putting fire on any cards from the enemy. So we can safely move forward to sort of build up our forces on the 1st row for the advance onto the 2nd row. And hopefully do that in places where they can actively support that move. So I'm going to start with the 1st squad. Let's see, 1st platoon. I can't actually do them yet because I didn't activate them. They have to take place during the platoon initiative phase. So really I either need to do 1st sergeant, 2nd platoon, or 3rd platoon. So I'm going to start with 2nd platoon, And one thing I want them to do is to issue a ceasefire command. So we'll do that first. We're going to, second platoon issues a ceasefire command. So that's going to remove this automatic weapons VOF, this crossfire VOF. This pinned VOF is actually now a small arms VOF since they're no longer pinned. This PDF goes away. Okay, so that's their effect. After that, you can consider moving off this card. Now, back to that argument about the mines. We're at a building. We're going to have to walk out into the street to get off this card. Technically, as I understand it, that will not activate the mines again. But if you have the argument that they have to walk through the street to get to the building, that's when they activate the mines. When they come on the building, maybe that's another complication we can add to all these house rules about the mines. Mines are definitely something I hope they clear up in whatever next version they decide to release of this game. Okay, one thing I just noticed was that second platoon's commander is also pinned, which is an additional modifier to the combat draw. So he got one command, because I think he drew a 1. So it really couldn't be reduced any further, so he still has the same number of commands. We can't rally any of these paralyzed teams, really do much of anything except maybe reduce that. We can attempt to remove that pin marker with the rally command, but in reality it's going to come off. So the only people he could potentially command are the fire team and the light machine gun team. Now, the fire team, maybe you could send it forward. There is some potential. I think second platoon is going to bank the rest of their movement or rest of their actions. Wait for that pin to come off, and then we can go from there. Third platoon, who's on this card over here, needs to think about what they're going to do. And again, there's not a whole hell of a lot to do yet, except maybe explore this card. Now that 88 is almost certainly going to shift fire, and that would become unpleasant exposed. I don't think we want to risk that yet either. So yeah, I'm going to have third platoon also bank their actions for next turn, and hopefully we can come up with something better to do. First sergeant, our plan was to get these guys forward, and I think we want to do that, get them over to this card, and avoid this mine card here. Yeah, so we're going to, we can't do a platoon move, we're not a platoon, so that would mean individually sending forth 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 units. But I guess that's probably the best way to go about this. So, first sergeant is going to spend 5 commands to get everybody over to this card. So he gets to move over, and everybody's going to be exposed at the end of all this. There's no VOF on this card, so we can't infiltrate. So let's put a slew of exposed markers on top of everybody. They're all exposed. Now we could potentially send this guy forward, but he's going to definitely receive fire from this guy on either of these cards should we do that. Again, I think I'm going to bank that last action from first platoon. Actually, I'm going to send them over here. So that'll be the last action from first sergeant. And, yeah. So they're exposed. So now we are finished with the platoon staff impulse, and we are now in the initiative segment. And we're going to give one initiative to the company XO. And I don't think they're going to do well. I want to get a casualty collection point going here. And I think this Orchard Grove is probably a reasonable location for it, so they're going to move forward with one command. And with the other command, we're going to define this as a casualty collection point. I can never remember how we get that card. Here we go. Casualty. Oops, it was there, and I just somehow. Here we go. Casualty collection. All right, so now it is the platoon initiative phase. So first platoon did not get activated, so they're going to get 3 - 1 for green, so they get 2 initiative points. Oops, that's not. It's these guys. And they're going to move forward onto this card here. So that's a platoon move. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and again, everybody is exposed. And that cost, whoops, that cost 2 commands. Okay. All right. And I don't think I can send commands to these guys under the cover marker because they are under the cover marker. But I would like to get someone to move this casualty marker off, but they can't do it at the moment because they're all exposed. So that was the extent of first platoon. So now we're on to the general initiative phase. And we get 3 commands to do stuff with. This guy should also be exposed. General initiative commands. What can we do? They're all pinned, so we just can't do a whole hell of a lot of useful things. I think we want to move this guy here out from undercover so that he can be commanded next time. That's one general initiative. We're going to do the same thing here from this guy. He's going to come out from undercover so that he can be commanded next time. And at this point, basically consider all of these having a phone line on them. So everything that's going to be still in command from the company headquarters. If I move forward, I could potentially save. I can't do that now. Okay, I think I have one more general initiative command left. Not a whole heck of a lot of an idea what to do with it. I would love to call down artillery on this guy here, but we don't have line of sight. And we don't have line of sight to this guy either. So the two enemy combatants that are still spotted on the cards are sort of, safe for the time being. So I guess we're just going to waste one general initiative command. And we move forward to the enemy HQ events. Let's see, do we get anything? Oh, we do. This is terribly exciting and frightening. We draw a 5. Quick look tells us that we get the rally action. So we can attempt to rally any unit on map from a pin or upgrade an LAT. So the only one that it really applies to is this letter team. So let's go ahead and do that draw and see. We've got to, I guess with that last general initiative, I'm going to issue a ceasefire to this guy to save that from happening here. But I think I'll just shoot again. I need to check how this works. All right, let's back up and make a correction here. As usual, what's kind of the trickiest part of this game for me is remembering to keep up with the fluid VOFs and PDFs. So I need to be more careful in the sense that when I move onto a card, you need to immediately at that point evaluate how that changes VOFs and PDFs. For example, when I moved all these guys onto this card, because there's an existing PDF firing onto this card, even though there's no one there, they're all opening fire over here. And that includes, at this point, a bunch of guys that I don't want firing, like this mortar section and this heavy machine gun. That's just going to be pure wasting ammo. So I sent this two-step unit over there with my last action from the first sergeant. So rather than do that, I'm going to spend that last action to ceasefire. Okay, so that's going to eliminate that problem of everybody shooting unnecessarily. Now, over here, I did not issue a ceasefire for anybody, so they're all going to continue or to fire on this litter team. And if I do issue a ceasefire, I think they'll just start shooting again because they can still see it. Yeah, so I'm kind of in a bad situation with this light machine gun team because even if I tell them to cease fire, they're just going to resume firing. Again, the enemy HQ event was to rally a unit, and the possible team to rally is this letter team. So that's a 2-card draw, and we're looking for the word rally. And there it is. So they rally up. Can't remember the hierarchy, but I think it's an assault team. Pretty sure. Nope, they go to a fire team, so they can shoot back now. So let's do that. Actually, C is close. I think that's just this card, so they can't actually shoot back. That's okay. Everybody on this card is okay, so we have automatic weapons fire and small arms fire going to this card. The small arms is going to get superseded. for sure. And the last thing that I can't remember is does this artillery that I was firing on this card just keep coming down, or do I have to cease fire from the artillery? Yeah. So actually, what happens is the VOF that was here would actually hang around on this card until the following combat phase, which is important because it would essentially continue to block line of sight and things like that. So, but I don't think it really matters for the time being. So, we're now in the enemy action phase. We have 3 enemy units. 1, 2, 3. So let's go ahead and figure out which one gets to go first. 3 goes first, so that is going to be the 88. So let's see what our options are for the old 88. Deliberate, we have they're not under fire, and they do not have line of sight to an enemy unit. Not under fire and no line of sight to an enemy unit. Remove the unit and place a PC marker. I did not know that ever happened. Okay. What kind of PC marker? And you place it on the same hex? There's already a PC marker there. I'm going to have to look at this. Well, it seems since there is no one in this guy's line of sight, he goes away, and since there's already a potential contact marker on this row, in this location, we don't draw another one. So that's the easiest way I've ever come across to remove an 88. I'm assuming the trenches stay. So we'll get, oh, I did not mean to do that. I'm trying to get rid of this and this. I'm not going to think about this too hard. We'll move on to the next one. We need to draw 1 or 2. We get 1, so this guy goes first. And he's the light action team. Okay, light action team. He should be pinned. Pretty sure. Pinned, but he is undercover. It's not a U.S. occupied card, so pinned, undercover. We get basically a 1 to 4 draw. Okay, I can't see anything for some reason. 1 to 4. We draw 4. 1 to 4 means fall back. And again, I think when they fall back off the map, out of line of sight, they're just removed from play. So, again, I didn't want to get rid of that. Sometimes. Goodness gracious. All right, foxholes stay. There's no one on the card now. Again, they don't immediately cease fire. They need to have a ceasefire command, so they're still going to shoot. We're left with this guy. He is not a light action team. He, defensive, deliberate. He's not under cover. So not under fire and no line of sight. Remove unit. Place a PC marker. Can we see? No, we can't see through these corners. So he's just gone. Well, that was pretty dang convenient that they just all went away without me having to do anything. So there's an advantage to not rushing forward into the next row of potential contact markers. Should I have done that, all of these guys would have still had units to shoot at. So sometimes you just need to take a break, I guess, and regroup, pull yourself together. So we're now on to the evaluate potential contact markers, of which we don't need to evaluate any. So we go to the combat effects. Now at this point, this is when this goes away. And none of my guys are under fire, and none of his guys are on the board anymore. So there is no combat to evaluate. We're just going to go straight to Keynote. That was kind of a boring turn in the end, but it was actually particularly helpful in that we removed all those units off the board. I'm curious if anyone's watching if I did that right. It seems pretty helpful for me for the units to just simply leave the cards without me having to do anything. But as far as I can tell, that's how it works. So let's go ahead and move the turn marker up. We are definitely not engaged. We're definitely not engaged anymore. I think we're just contact, because these VOF markers are still in effect, again, because I could not issue a ceasefire command. So we're still under contact, if not no contact. And I think that's it. Okay, just kidding. The guy here, the fire team I've just put away, certainly could see these guys. So there was something to evaluate there. So we're going to do that. If I can figure out how to get a fire team on the map, I guess I'm going to have to go into pieces, Germany, fire team. I don't know how you decide which one of these you get from a litter team. Something to look up. Anyway, let's look at this enemy activity hierarchy again. So we are under fire, and we're definitely under fire. And they're under cover. They don't have a PDF. They can't. They can see people, but they can't shoot at them. So, not under fire, they are under fire. Not under fire, they are under fire. They have on the same card. Which one apply? I guess they have a PDF. So would that be? It's not a different. Is it a different direction? It's a little bit weird and confusing. Alright, sorry for all the confusion this time, but it's confusing. So, a fire team is a light action team, so this should be on this table. And it doesn't seem that anything applies. They're not pinned. There's not enough of them to reconstitute. They're not an assault team. They're a fire team, but they are not on a units occupied card. They're not a leader. They are not a spotter, sniper, weapon team on the side. They're not a litter team or a paralyzed team, so they just, I guess, don't do anything. So I guess we just have to evaluate that combat. So they're going to get just a +1 because its fire is coming through open terrain sides. And then -1 for automatic weapons VOF for a net. Oh, and a +1 for flexible. So it's a net +1. So we draw an action card. +1 is pinned. So now they will be pinned next time. And now, for real this time, we are done with this turn.